My Satchakor life is
7 a.m. and we now make way for the morning watch with Reverend Dr. Dylan Toussaint.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, and the sentence doesn't seem to fit the crime. And in the second watch, another postponement of the local government elections. For our social media question, we ask, how can we ensure that punishments always fit the crime? We're asking you to share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's our quote.
Good morning, and today's I quote is an integrity quote, and it says, "Love the life you live the life you love." And this quote is by none other than Bob Marley.
Okay, good morning, Jukal.
Good morning.
Yeah, that sounds like both an integrity and an island quote combined, eh?
Exactly.
Yes. By the way, which song is your favorite Bob Marley song?
Okay, so it would have been not One Love, the one about the three little birds. Can't remember the name.
Yeah, me too. Don't worry about that thing.
It's same one.
Okay. We are on the same page with that.
Yes.
Great. The first watch will be back after this break.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the Telephone Counseling and Prayer Ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
If you want a place for just chill and hold a vibe,
a place where you can get some good belly burning laugh,
a bedrock a keep, and deep discussion about life.
Make sure you don't miss Come Make We Draw a Long Bench with Shivani Blair.
Every Friday at 9 p.m. during Fellowship Fridays.
Mrs.
Massa, it's not normal.
And we're sure you will enjoy it plenty.
So come, make we draw a long bench the next time Friday I keep
at 9 p.m.
right here on the family station, Love 101. Bench them gone dear child.
You a lot of everything. Make the universe like a ring. Give me a bite to chant, something my bite to sing.
Receive words of strength from the Voice of Power with Bishop Dr. Delford Davis.
The battle of seed has been declared many years ago and is still raging. I will put enmity between thee
and between the woman. Thy seed and her seed. A war will be on perpetually until Jesus returns. But I know who has already won the war. I know who has already won the war.
That's the Voice of Power with Bishop Dr. Delford Davis, brought to you by the Power of Faith Ministries International in Portmore. Voice of Power comes to you every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Speak, my Lord. Speak, my Lord. Speak, and I will answer, Lord, send me.
It's tax season again, and the best way to pay your taxes is with your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. You'll enjoy your 1-month payment holiday. Conditions apply.
Hey everybody, I'm Ashley.
I'm Jakal. I'm Victor.
I'm Chantel.
And we are
The Pulse Podcast.
You can find us every Saturday at 7 p.m. on Love 101 FM JA's YouTube channel.
Yes, 7 to 8 p.m. And ensure you follow us on social media, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at The Pulse Podcast JA.
The Pulse Podcast, your weekly source of authentic, Jamaican, faith-based, creative content and edutainment.
About culture, creative expressions and games. This is the Pulse Podcast.
How can budgeting help you manage your financial health? One of the major keys to a budget and maintaining your financial health is to stick to your budgeted expenses, regardless of whether you start making more money or bringing in more income. You should definitely be saving more if you are earning more. This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
Pentecostal Gospel Showers presents the grand opening of the Bailey's Medical Complex and Business Center on Saturday, February 25, 2023, beginning at 11 a.m. at 33 Trelawney Avenue, Riverton Meadows, under the theme Let the Desert Blossom, with guest speakers Dr. Anthony Hilton, MP, and Bishop Philbert and Millicent Bailey, hosted by Trudy Bell. The broadcast will be live on Love 101 FM's radio from 11 a.m. to 12 noon and on Love 101 FM's Facebook page. Then listen at 3 p.m. for the delayed continuation of the broadcast. That's the Pentecostal Gospel Showers grand opening of the Bailey's Medical Complex and Business Center. Saturday, February 25, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on radio and delayed continuation at 3 p.m. Catch it all on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, in recent times, there have been growing concerns about sentences imposed on convicted individuals, especially in cases of manslaughter and murder. In some cases, the sentence just doesn't seem to fit the crime. So in this, the first watch, we are basically asking, what kind of sentence is satisfactory if convicted of crimes such as manslaughter and murder, and what, if any, changes should be made in that regard? Well, to discuss this issue, we have joining us King's Counsel, Mr. Peter Champagnie, and Mr. Kevin O'Brien Chang, social commentator. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, and good morning to your listeners, Kevin.
Great. All right. Let me begin with you, Mr. Champagnie. Especially in terms of manslaughter, murder, how is this sentencing determined in terms of Jamaica's jurisprudence? And what are your opening thoughts in that regard?
Well, firstly, murder and manslaughter are two distinct offenses under the criminal law. In respect of manslaughter, the starting point normally is 15 years in relation to sentencing. And for murder, it is beyond that. It's really life, but normally, in practice, the sentencing judge will prescribe a period of time to be served before eligibility in terms of parole. I do take note of the fact that Jamaica has one of the highest murder rates in the world, given our size. That's really alarming. And I do take note of the fact that the recent amendments, or should I say, the newly promulgated Firearms Act, allows for sentencing in terms of possession of a firearm for 15 years and beyond, depending on the circumstances. And therefore, it stands to follow and reason that you couldn't have the same kind of sentence being meted out to a murder conviction. And therefore, it would have to be increased. But the question is, what level of increase? And also, we need to bear in mind that when we go to court, and I think a lot of persons don't understand that, you hardly have a situation, especially at the criminal bar, where persons go to court and all are happy. There's always going to be someone who is not satisfied with what obtained, either the accused because he or she may feel that they have gotten a heavy sentence, or it may be the complainant in a particular case who feels that the sentence may have been too light. So all in all, it is a very delicate and it's a balancing act, and it's perhaps the most difficult job of a judge. But I also would like to conclude this aspect of my presentation by saying that we also need to bear in mind that the DPP recently, in recent times, in terms of years, now they have the power to appeal in terms of sentencing. So if a sentencer in the way of a judge gives a sentence that is perceived to be unduly lenient, then the DPP has the right to appeal that to the Court of Appeal. And I believe we saw that recently in a case coming from out of the West, where it was a historic appeal and the sentence was increased.
Yes. And before I go to Mr. O'Brien Chang, could you just repeat the years in terms of manslaughter and murder?
15 years normally for manslaughter, starting point. The starting point normally is 20 years, depending on the mitigating circumstances and the aggravating features.
Okay, so murder is 20 years?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Mr. O'Brien Chang, what are your opening thoughts on this matter? Mr. Chang? Sir Brian Chang, not hearing you.
Oh. Hello.
Yes.
Hear me now?
Yeah. Yes, hearing you now.
Okay.
Your opening thoughts.
About the stricter sentencing.
Yes, and manslaughter and murder and all of that. The sentencing aspect. Yes.
Well, if you look at the polls consistently, Jamaicans want stricter sentencing. You know, we have the highest murder rate in the world, or one of the highest murder rates in the world, and the public consistently has been asking for tougher sentencing. Every single poll says the same thing. So if we're a democracy, surely the powers that be should respond to the wishes of the people. That's my bottom line.
The powers that be should respond to the wishes of the people. All right. Mr. Champagnie, you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I accept the polling position, but the point is that one cannot be swayed. The sentencing process is not one that is guided only by what the public wishes or to pander to the public's perception or view of what should be a sentence. The fact of the matter is that if you ask any ordinary Jamaican on the road, somebody charged for larceny of, let us say, some animals, predial larceny cases, they want death. They want the person to die. And I think the sooner we recognize that the issue is not about increased sentencing. Yes, there should be an increase, as I said in my opening remarks. But the fact of the matter, the reason why we have such a high murder rate, I am here to tell you, is because those who commit murder are of the view that the likelihood of being caught is next to nothing, nil. And therefore, the focus must be on improving the technological capabilities of the investigative arm of the state to ensure, as it obtains in other jurisdictions like the United States, for example, or nearest neighbor, where 90% of the cases, when they go before the court, the person who is guilty has no option but to plead guilty because of the overwhelming nature of the evidence. In Jamaica, that's not the case. The view is that if I kill, I am not going to be caught.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. We're up on a break. Hold that thought. We'll be right back.
The time is 7:15 a.m., courtesy of the Heart Foundation of Jamaica. Let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools.
Stay fit, stay healthy. Look good in my selfie. Fosca oat milk make me look and feel good. Fosca oat milk do my body real good. I like my milk dairy free. Fosca oat milk plant-based, good for me. You know my punch on my porridge or tea. Fosca oat milk is perfect for me. Yes, Fosca. Fosca oat milk do my body real good. Stay fit, stay healthy. The healthy way every day.
Your taxes hold the key. Let's get digital. Get online this March 15. File and pay your final income tax return for 2022 and estimated return for 2023. There are so many options. JamaicaTax.gov.jm, direct funds transfer, NCB online banking, and Scotia online and mobile app. Pay your taxes the digital way. All returns must be filed online and on time. Tax Administration Jamaica, changing the way we do business.
They're full of life. You're full of love. They're carefree. You care more. That's why we created Child Protector, a critical illness insurance plan from Sagicor Life. It provides coverage for your child in the event of 15 critical illnesses, hospitalization benefits, life insurance, and investment benefits. So make sure your child can live life to the fullest. Apply for Sagicor Child Protector today.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the first watch, we are looking at the sentencing in Jamaica, especially in terms of murder and manslaughter, when the sentence doesn't seem to fit the crime. And in so doing, we have online Mr. Kevin O'Brien Chang and King's Counsel Peter Champagnie. Before the break, Mr. Champagnie, your thoughts? Continue, please.
I basically summed up by saying that, the real issue, the real elephant in the room, if I may put it that way, that nobody wants to speak about, is that persons who commit crimes, murders, they are of the view that the likelihood of being caught is next to nil. And therefore, what we need to focus on, I believe, is to improve the capabilities, the technological capabilities of our investigative arm of the state, i.e. the police. That is where the focus must be, because in other jurisdictions, when a case is presented before the court, an accused person who is guilty has no alternative but to plead guilty because of the overwhelming nature of the evidence against him or her. And that's where we need to focus on.
Happy you mentioned about the pleading guilty part, because Mr. O'Brien Chang, I gather that there are persons who are very concerned about issues of plea bargaining and concessions that are being made and discounts and all of that now. What's your take on that, Mr. O'Brien Chang? You're not hearing you. Mr. O'Brien Chang? Oh dear, we seem to be having some technical challenges. Are you still there, Mr. Champagnie?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, well, you take that question then. What are your thoughts on that?
Let me put it this way. If you have, and this is where practice comes in, if you have a situation where an accused person who is guilty is presented with a situation where if he pleads guilty, he's getting 50 years, for example, no less than 50 years. He or she would rather take his or her chances at trial, right? And especially in light of the fact that if one were to plead guilty, there are no incentives in terms of a reduced sentence. So the point is, we have to be very careful in how we treat with this matter of sentencing, because you don't want a situation where you have strict sentencing guidelines, harsh sentencing guidelines, and then there is no incentive for those who are guilty to plead guilty. We don't have enough prison for persons to facilitate that. And not only that, but the point is that the justice system is already overburdened. We can't try every case that comes before the court, and that's a reality.
But you know, if a family of a victim, especially in murder, hears of these reductions or discounts,
Yes.
it's going to hurt. I mean, they're going to feel that the justice has not been done.
I'm
And it's
happy
not
that you,
fair.
I'm happy that you mentioned that, because that's a fallacy. The fact of the matter is that if someone is pleading guilty and there is an agreement in relation to that, there is what is called a victim impact statement, where the victim of the person who is killed, the relatives of the person who is killed, or if it's someone that is not killed and the person is a victim, the victim is able to ventilate in a formal way his or her views, how this crime has impacted upon their own lives, the lives of the other persons in the family, and so on. So that is actually taken into consideration. Now, that is fairly new, actually, and it has been featured in a number of cases in recent times. So it's not a case where the victim is shut out completely. It's not that case at all.
What would they argue? Mr. O'Brien Chang, you want to respond to that? You're back with us.
That sounds very, very feeble to me. I mean,
feeble?
Yeah, because just because I can vent doesn't give me any more satisfaction.
Okay.
We've seen a number, just this year alone, a number of cases where the family has been on the front page very angry about the sentencing. That one with this child molested so many children and got some slap on the wrist. And as I say, that's one of the things that creates jungle justice in Jamaica. That people feel they're going to get these slaps on the wrist and all that, and people want, a satisfaction that the sentence is commensurate with the crime. Now, Mr. Champagnie says, yes, we need get the policing and all that and make sure we catch them and the courts. But you can walk and chew gum at the same time. And also, this backlog, surely we can have a special area of the court that deals with the heinous crimes, the murder, the child molestation, because the bulk of the crimes are not serious, right? But sure, we can have a special court that deals with the really harsh crimes, because we know it's a whole debate about how much the sentencing deters people and all that. But there must be some relationship. Look at the U.S., right? The other day, what did Nipsey Hussle, some celebrity, got murdered, right? 60 years. And we see, this is a internet age, and America is a leader in the news, the broadcasting industry. So most of the news we consume is American. And consistently, we see in America, when they commit serious crimes, they get some years and years and years. And then in Jamaica, we see slaps on the wrist, 12 years of murder. I can't forget that, but the public sees these things. What I remember is this man tried to murder this little girl and buried her, and then joined in the search, and they caught him eventually because the girl didn't die, and the man got like 9 or 10 years.
So, Mr. Chang, what would be acceptable?
And the other thing, the public is angry with is this concurrent sentencing, right? This man that cut. Remember, the family killed the mother and the 4 children.
Yeah.
And they get sentencing, and then they make it concurrent. And it seems in Jamaica, if you kill 5 people or 1 person, they get sentencing. It's the same sentence. They'll give you how many? 15 years, and it's concurrent. So you serve 15 years total. You kill 5 people. You kill 1, you get 15. You kill 5, you get 15. What's the point of concurrent sentencing, Mr. Champagnie? The public.
Well, may I say this with
sentencing?
With the greatest of respect to you, sir. Firstly, the argument about it being feeble is unfounded. I say that because when you have instances in the system that there is a sentencing of an individual that would tend to shock the public's conscience as perceived as being unduly lenient, the Crown has the right to appeal. And they did in relation to one instance that you referred to, The person got 12 years for murder. It was appealed, and the sentence was dramatically increased. That's the first thing. And secondly, the unfortunate thing is that many of us who comment about these things do not take the time to go and sit in our courts to recognize what is happening. The fact of the matter is that the majority of courtrooms now at the Supreme Court cater to criminal cases, and not just criminal cases, but those of the more serious nature. There are, for instance, 3 courtrooms that are reserved exclusively for that. The other point that I would wish to make, I'm not saying that the sentencing...
The problem then.
I'm not saying that the sentencing should not be increased. I'm not by any means saying that. But you're looking at a more complex situation when you speak about concurrence and consecutive sentencing. That's a principle in law that would need to change. It's a common law principle. It's not a matter of simply saying that it should change and move to that. It would require a bit far more than that for that to be dealt with. But the point is,
about it. The public is very angry about that one. Why is there no debate to get rid of this concurrent thing? If a man killed 5 people, 5 consecutive sentencing, not 5 concurrent. Why would we have any debate about that? I don't hear anybody say we need to get rid of concurrent sentencing. The public on the street does, but I don't hear the debate in the legal circles.
Well, that is a matter. That is, I always believe that the supremacy in terms of legislation is with Parliament. That is a matter for the parliamentarians to do. That is a matter for legislators to do.
But has to raise it. It has to be raised, and it's not being talked about by the legal community to push the Parliament.
I, for one, have no difficulty with it being raised whatsoever. But for the moment, I can only follow what the law is and what the principles are.
Sure. You have your voice. You raise issues. This one can be raised because until it is raised by prominent people, nothing happens in Jamaica. The public want it on the ground, grumble all the time. But we don't hear the prominent people saying, look, we need to get rid of the concurrent sentencing. Parliamentarians do something. I don't hear that debate. The public.
But Mr. Chang, Mr. O'Brien Chang, I don't know. I'm wondering where in the world that is not the case, where we have the concurrent sentencing. Do you know?
Oh, sir, look at America. I know. We see American press people get 100 years sometimes. Well, listen, I'm not an expert enough. I can only read the news. When I read there's a man killed 5 people, get 5 consecutive sentencing, 200 years of jail. So ensuring he will die in jail. This guy we had killed the mother and the children. What he got? 50, 60 years and could get cut it in half. He can come out before he's dead. That should never happen for a man like that. That man who killed that mother and the 4 children, he should never.
No, but with respect, Mr. Chan.
In America, he would never see the light of day again.
No, but with respect, one has to be faithful to the accuracy of that particular case. Let me put it that way. It's not a case, and we need to understand that, and let's clear that up now. It's not a case where it is going to be cut by half. The sentencing judge, the Honorable Mr. Justice Leighton Pusey, I think it's the Roshane Barrett case that you're referring to, indicated and stipulated the period before eligibility for parole, and it was not by half at all.
He should never be eligible again. That's my point. In America, he would never be. He would get 200 years.
Okay, Mr.
The public. So, in other words, our laws are letting out these criminals.
Please allow Mr. Champagne to finish his statement.
All that I'm saying, you see, it is very easy to appeal to the emotive aspect of this and say he should get 200 years. The fact of the matter, the man is not going to live beyond 80 or 70 years in a situation like that, right? You're not going to live to 100 years or 150 years. So it is. It sounds nice. It sounds very impressive. 200, 300 years. But that is what the position is at this point in time, right?
Mr. Champ, you know we see it all the time. Man get 20 years for 5 murder, whatever, and then he can come out. What I'm saying is, you do not see it in the U.S.
Could you point? Could you demonstrate? Refer to a particular case where a man get 20 years for 5 murders?
We see it all the time. So
Can you refer to a particular case?
Hold on. I'm not a lawyer. I have it in front of me.
No, but you're saying things that are not consistent.
Look at Roshane Barrett then. He's what, 20, right? In about 50 years. He can come out at 70. If he gets good behavior, come out at 60. Now you tell me how in the world you slaughter 5 people and you can come see the daylight of when you vote 60 or something again. Where's the justice in that? No, man. These mad people, these mad
I'm so sorry.
talk about rehabilitation for man like that.
We are totally out of time.
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Unfortunately.
Very interesting, informative, insightful, and I hope that going forward we can continue to have improvements in the justice system. Thanks again. Have a safe day.
You're most welcome.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, listeners. The Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
JN Small Business Loans. Tell us your business and let's turn your ambitions into reality. The time by JN Bank Small Business Loans is
7:30.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on JN Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. JN Bank will help you find a way.
Wayne, you know Flo Yardan Road now faster than ever?
Yeah, my brethren just get it.
Him love it, though.
Especially the 200 megabit speed and getting a Samsung tablet or phone for $999 plus GCT. You know he got the phone.
So, you coming home now?
Right after I pass the board.
There's never been a better time to get the invaluable value of Flo Yardan Road. Sign up and get fiber fast internet at home, unlimited social, YouTube, talk and text for just $4,999 plus GCT. And save big on a Samsung phone or tablet. Conditions apply.
Colgate Triple Action. 3 benefits for a deep clean. As a mother, you always want to give the best to your family and to make them happy. With Colgate Triple Action, you give them 3 reasons to smile. Cavity protection, whiter teeth, and fresh breath. A unique formula with a minty flavor they will love. Colgate Triple Action. Find it at your favorite store.
They're full of life. You're full of love. They're carefree. You care more. That's why we created Child Protector, a critical illness insurance plan from Sagicor Life. It provides coverage for your child in the event of 15 critical illnesses, hospitalization benefits, life insurance, and investment benefits. So make sure your child can live life to the fullest. Apply for Sagicor Child Protector today.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Toussaint. Let's now look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, tempting faith. Court authorizes cancer treatment for minor after mom objects, claiming God would heal her son. And then we see tougher murder sentences won't fix crisis, critics argue. In the Observer, there must be warm if you give up. Pensioner searches for missing payouts. And also in the Observer, triple tragedy. Families grief-stricken following deadly Manchester 2-vehicle crash. Oh my. And then in the Loop News, man stabbed to death at plaza in Ocho Rios, attacker on the run. And then killers put on notice again, up to 50 years for murder on the horizon. Some serious stories here this morning. Those are some of the headlines from the newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media question. How can we ensure that punishments always fit the crime? How can we ensure that punishments always fit the crime? We're asking you to leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the telephone counseling and prayer ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Receive words of strength from the Voice of Power with Bishop Dr. Delford Davis.
The battle of seed has been declared many years ago and is still raging. I will put enmity between thee and between the woman, thy seed and her seed. A war will be on perpetually until Jesus returns. But I know who has already won the war. I know who has already won the war.
That's the Voice of Power with Bishop Dr. Delford Davis, brought to you by the Power of Faith Ministries International in Portmore. Voice of Power comes to you every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Speak, my Lord. Speak, my Lord. Speak, and I will answer, Lord, send me.
Pentecostal Gospel Showers presents the grand opening of the Bailey's Medical Complex and Business Center on Saturday, February 25, 2023, beginning at 11 a.m. at 33 Trelawney Avenue, Riverton Meadows, under the theme Let the Desert Blossom, with guest speakers Dr. Anthony Hilton, MP, and Bishop Philbert and Millicent Bailey, hosted by Trudy Bell. The broadcast will be live on Love 101 FM's radio from 11 a.m. to 12 noon and on Love 101 FM's Facebook page. Then listen at 3 p.m. for the delayed continuation of the broadcast. That's the Pentecostal Gospel Showers grand opening of the Bailey's Medical Complex and Business Center. Saturday, February 25, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on radio and delayed continuation at 3 p.m. Catch it all on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jukal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. How can we ensure that punishments always fit the crime? Jukal?
All right, so I have a response here on WhatsApp from Cherry, and Cherry's from Spanish Town, St. Catherine. She says, good morning. Many of us as Jamaicans do not know our rights, neither do we understand the justice system. We need to understand different crimes, different sentences, and everything is based on allegations, time spent, time wasted, or time used to solve crimes and bring justice. Someone will always feel like justice is not done, but we have to remember, especially as Christians, vengeance is not ours. And that is from Cherry from Spanish Town.
Quite a mouthful there, Cherry. We appreciate the response. Some interesting comments made there. Okay, thank you, Jukal, for reading.
Yes, no problem.
All right, as we now segue into the second watch, local government elections have once again been postponed. It's been more than 6 years since the last one. And what are the real reasons for these postponements? How have such postponements affected our nation? And what should we do about it? Well, to help us answer these and other questions, we have joining us so far Dr. Nadeen Spence, social and political commentator. Good morning to you, Dr. Spence.
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, you know.
Great,
I'm
great.
doing well.
Thanks for joining us again. We hope to be joined by another guest, and they're trying to make the connection. In the meantime, you want to tell us, Dr. Spence, your initial thoughts on the postponement once again of the local government election?
Well, I mean, I think it's something that we're used to. That's it. Because of the nature of the laws around having postponement, having having local government elections, there is not very much commitment to making sure that they happen when they are recommended, right? So I wasn't surprised. I know that for the most part, local government elections have become a litmus test for a party's popularity in power and likelihood that win the next election. And until that changes, until it doesn't become the date doesn't become nebulous and optional, then that is likely to happen. So I think that one of the things that we as Jamaicans, if we are bothered by it, because I don't think enough Jamaicans are concerned, I think if Jamaicans are bothered by it, the thing to do is to say, you know, we need the laws changed around it. And we know how laws are changed, and we know who is responsible for changing law. And we know how to petition, we know how to write letters, we know how to attend on parliament. We know all the things to do to create the change. I am, you know, Reverend, I am one of those Jamaicans who is coming to recognize that there's a way in which we are not maturing in our response, responses as a citizen to those issues in the political arena that we find troubling. It's not, you don't change things by talking. Citizens have a responsibility. And we can't be a lazy citizenry. We have to get up and say, what is the channel that is going to cause change around this matter that we find troubling? And okay, how do we initiate the process? And how do we follow through towards getting the thing that we want? Governance is not just executed by those in power and opposition, in the government and opposition. It's also executed by the people who are the recipients of the policies and actions and strategies of those who are in power. We have to, if we want things to change, we have to know what the change process is and work towards achieving it.
Yes. And we're going to, of course, say more about that later on in discussion. But I want to ask you now, Dr. Spence, because the understanding, I believe, the reason given is twofold for the postponement again: the issue of Portmore coming up parish and budgetary constraints. If my memory serves me right, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I heard them, and I know there are a lot of opinions being shared about whether or not those are legitimate. I mean, I could say, not illegitimate enough for me, but, again, our laws doesn't make local government elections non-negotiable. If the laws made them non-negotiable and said, these are the only reasons that should stipulate that we don't have local government elections, then I would, and there was a breach, then this, I could say, not sufficient enough reason. We would have a marker by which we can judge to say, this is not reason enough. But, my hesitance with looking at it and saying, no, not reason enough, is that I haven't thought about what would be a justifiable reason for there to be a postponement. And I think perhaps that's failure on my part, on our part, to say, Okay, let us look at the constitutional arrangements laid down around local government elections. And let us ask ourselves.
Sorry, Dr. Spence, you're up on a break. We'll be right back.
Paying taxes? Use your Sagicor Bank business credit card and get a 1 month payment holiday. Conditions apply. The time by Sagicor Bank is
7:45.
For 51 years, Under the Law has been helping you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. The program is brought to you on Tuesdays by the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, Grow Smart, Eat Smart, and on Thursdays by the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority, Health, Safety, and Fairness in Trade. Under the Law at 6:20 a.m., 2:35, 6:45, and 9:10 p.m. on Love 101 FM.
Burger King with the best tasting burger under the sun. You deserve the best. You are number one. Best. Flame grilling, juicy whopper, cause you deserve it. Yeah, next level. Awesome, that's how we serve. Mama menu done your way. To taste rules every day. Flame grilled goodness. You deserve it. Great taste, well done. More flavor, fresh Burger King. Best tasting burger under the sun.
Blue Ribbon rice means consistent quality. It's sodium-free, cholesterol-free, and fat-free. Add the consistent quality of Blue Ribbon rice to your meal today. Distributed by T. Geddes Grant Distributors Limited.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the second watch, we have been discussing the whole matter of the postponement again of the local government elections. And so far we have online Dr. Nadeen Spence, social commentator. Dr. Spence, before the break, you were expressing to us, well, your reaction to the fact that the reasons given for the postponement this time around has to do with the parish, Portmore becoming a parish, and budgetary constraints. Do you agree with it? Is it?
No, I don't. Let me begin by saying I don't think the election should be postponed at all. You know.
Yeah.
I don't think they should be. I think in a democracy, we don't play with the mechanics of election. But
I guess justifiable reasons come up from time to time. Like
right. So that's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. Because our laws are not as definitive as they should be on this, we are going to get some things that we might think don't rise to the level. But again, it goes back to what I'm saying. We've had this discussion. It's a long time we've been having this discussion, right? And I've opined on this several times on the radio, on TV, on wherever. But it doesn't change anything, right? And nothing changes until something changes, right? So we have to think about what is it, rather than talk about it all the time. Let us, who has gone to the body of laws which govern local government elections, seen the weakness in it and say, okay, this is what needs to change to ensure that we have local government elections. And what are local government elections for? Why do we have them? What is the difference between a councillor, a mayor, and an MP? And how do we demand better from them? It's a whole, I think, weakness in our body politic, where we don't understand what our institutions are supposed to do and what enables them, what gives them their power. And because we don't know, our public commentary, even mine, tends to be the same every time because we haven't moved we haven't moved in our conversation. We haven't made it such that we now know that, okay, this time we're not asking for whether or not we think the reasons are sufficient. This time what we're saying is these are the changes that need to be made around the law so that for every 3 years we're supposed to have local government elections. We have them whether the party in power likes it or not. we have them and there can be no manipulation of the dates.
Yes, so we need to fix election dates.
We need to fix them. We need to fix them just as how we can't play around the general elections. Even though the election dates are not fixed, we know that general elections are due every 5 years. It can happen before, but it can happen after, and nobody can. When a government suspends an election date, it's a serious.
Yeah.
It's a serious indication of what is happening, of an issue in our politics. The fact that local government election dates are suspendable is what I'm putting on the table here. They shouldn't be. If they're important, if they're an indication of the health of our democracy, we shouldn't be able to suspend them. If they are not, then they become tools in somebody's arsenal to be used for their own advancement.
I think I heard you saying earlier that normally the local government elections are used as a litmus test for the party in power. Right? Why wouldn't the party in power therefore utilize this litmus test?
It depends on how they feel that their popularity is going. It could be.
Yes, I'm saying
Or it could be that a government is confident and feel like, we don't need it. We already have our mandate.
Because person already saying that it is because they're afraid of the public.
Some people are saying they're afraid of the public, and then some people are perhaps thinking, okay, but from what we've seen in polls, you seem to be holding strong. So why not go?
Right.
Because the commentary for either could be equal. Right? But again, if it is that what we see is that it is justifiable to use it as a litmus test. And that's why I'm wary of that conversation, because then we never get to the part where we fix it so that we don't have this conversation next year, February 2024, if it is pushed back. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How do we ensure that it's not used as a litmus test? We have certain tools that we use to execute the health of to ensure that the health of our democracy is maintained.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, in my lifetime, I don't know if you've seen it. We've not had when did it happen last? I'm trying to remember the name. It happened in the days of Bustamante and Norman Manley. What do you call it again? Where everybody votes on an issue. Oh gosh, I can't remember it right now. We've not had a referendum. We've not had any referendum as well because we treat it as a litmus test. So what we're doing is some of the tools that will help to deepen our democracy, we've removed them from practice because we use them as litmus tests.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are using our democracy to serve the interest of the party in power. Those things are not dependent on the party in power. They should be so enshrined in our constitution that they are non-negotiable.
Yes. There are those who are now saying that there are advantages, there are pros and cons to another postponement and the constant postponements that we've been having. Do you take that view as well?
That there are pros and cons?
Yeah, you can look at it both ways. That there are some positives to this.
There are some people who see positives, I guess. To me, who believes I believe in political institutions. I believe in democracy. I believe in democracy in practice. Right? That is the.
Let me tell you one part over here, Dr. Spence, that it won't be costing the nation. We are already burdened in terms of our financial situation. So continue to postpone this because it doesn't really matter to some people.
Right. Our democratic institutions are not a burden. They indicate the health of our democracy. And it gives us the reassurance that all is well and we can move on, that our democracy is not under threat. it values people's participation. It's always good when the nation feels that there is something to galvanize around, even if it is that we're taking different sides of an argument. At least it indicates that we're participating in our democracy. It's always good because it's always good for people to lend a voice beyond people having these conversations on the radio. How do we see the citizen being activated and motivated to join in the democratic process? Elections are critical to that. So whatever pros and cons we might have, if we transfer those pros and cons within the context of democracy and testing the health of our democracy, they wouldn't stand up, because democracies work so far through elections. That its key strategy is elections. Right? The more elections and the more avenues we create for people to participate in the process, the healthier our democracy.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about the lazy citizenry, and I think I was quoting you. What else can the general public do, though? It could be argued that our hands are tied because our legislators are the ones who need to go.
But we remember that's what we normally behave. When I was going to university, I learned about this term called learned helplessness. In Jamaica, we learned helplessness.
Okay.
We've learned to be helpless. We're not helpless, but we have this thing where we say, you cuss and quarrel, and then you say, but at them, they're not do nothing about it. No,
but be specific though, Dr. Spence. What do you expect the citizenry to do?
Well, the first thing to do is it legislative change or constitutional change? To be honest, right now I don't know. I've never thought about it deeply enough. What is it that is going to cause the change that we need to ensure that we have regular local government elections?
Yes.
Is it legislative change or constitutional change? We're currently in the process of discussing constitutional change, which is rarer and is harder to execute. But remember, we have our Minister of Constitutional and Legal Affairs who is putting together.
Either way, Dr. Spence, how will this general man in the street and woman in the street be able to make that change that you're talking about? It goes back to our legislators, goes back to those who we have elected.
Yeah, but we have to tell them what we want in our citizens groups, through our MPs. If you, Darlan, you know how our politics is arranged?
I want you to say it, and I want
the
you
political
to
parties
say it.
are supposed to be on the ground, in the members of parliament, in the constituencies, engaging their constituents, helping them to form groups, women's groups, youth groups, agricultural groups,
sending letters,
all kinds of
to
groups.
the press. Those are the things. That's all.
People are supposed to be organizing themselves and then saying to their constituents, these are the things we want on the to their member of parliament, their representative. These are the things we want on the agenda. We need to see change around this. We need to see change around this issue. We want to see elections, local government elections, 3 years. Even if we can work out the specific mechanics about how you get it done, go back up, go get it done. MP, come back next month. MP, where is this issue? Have you moved it along on the agenda? MP, come back next month. MP, where is this issue? We start writing letters to the MP. Remember this matter that is supposed to be addressed.
Right.
Where is this matter?
And be
Every citizen in every constituency has a right to go to their member of parliament who sits in parliament on their behalf, who is a part of the legislative arm of government, and say, remember, the members of parliament form part of they are the legislators. They are the ones who know how to organize towards creating the change. And need to tell them what is the legislative agenda. When we sit over here and hear the sectoral debates, the budget debates, when we listen to our ministers speak, when we listen to all of the Governor General's throne speech, we should be listening for the changes that we asked for during the year of our political representatives. We should be listening to see if the agenda has on it that the following pieces of legislation will be addressed to deal with concerns being expressed by the citizens of Jamaica. We should listen with that in mind.
Yes, and we are totally out of time, a fitting note on which to end. We are sleeping giants, and we need to get up and do something and to make an impact. Okay, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Spence. Have a safe, productive day.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners, for being with us. For information how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and of course, our guest. Please join Mr. Stokely Marshall next week, Tuesday, as he continues to look at the issues of the day. I'm Dylan Toussaint, reminding you to be purposeful, faithful, thankful, and of course, watchful, as I hand you back to Love in the Morning with Jukal Daya.